Say when. Good. Okay. Let's see.
Is this Tyler?
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. So welcome everyone in person and online to the June 5th meeting of the Nibley City Planning Commission here at Nibley City Hall. We'll go ahead and just do a quick attendance roll call of the commissioners real quick.
Brett Swenson.
Claire Shank.
Nick Kenska, when staff introduce yourselves.
Dickinson, City Engineer.
Talon Bigelow, Assistant City Recorder.
Great, thank you. And with that, we'll consider tonight's agenda. So our first action obviously is to approve the agenda for tonight's meeting. And also if willing to make a motion to also approve the previous minutes for the Planning Commission meeting on May 15th.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda and the minutes from our last meeting.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion to approve tonight's agenda, including the minutes from the previous meeting. Seconded. We'll just go ahead and go straight to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None. That'd be 3 in favor, no opposed. So we'll go ahead and get started on item number 1 for tonight's agenda, which is a public hearing for ordinance 2521 for the rezone of parcels 3-178-4, 3-178-3, and 3-178-10 located at 2440, 2485, and 2490 South, 1350 West from commercial to industrial. And before we get started on the public comment period, Tom, if you don't mind, maybe just introducing the application and going over details.
You betcha.
Thank you.
Give it a whirl here. So just to orient us, we're in this area right here, Heritage Drive, which is a master planned arterial road that's going to be serving as a frontage from along the Highway 8991. It's primarily on either side of that is primarily commercial zone. It's been zoned that way for 20 plus years. I don't know the exact date. I don't know that anybody does, but over the years, there's been a couple of requests to rezone to industrial. The latest one that I remember is 2007. And at that time, they were just redoing the general plan. So they tabled any decision on that. And the reason for that request was due to the use of the buildings and structures that are in that area. So I'll go to this presentation now. Just any questions on the orientation where we are?
Nope.
Okay. So again, this is the Heritage Drive frontage road on the north and the west of the site, and then this Nibley Park Avenue is on the north. I believe this is 1530 west or something here. So this parcel, and this parcel, one is vacant in the northeast corner. The one on the southwest is owned by Crook Investment, and the other one is northeast South Daco. I can't really read that. And excuse me, I'm trying to fill in the big shoes of Levi, so just bear with me, be gentle, and stop me with any questions. So the applicant's statement is what the need for the zone change is to align the zoning with the current land use. Again, I mentioned that the current land use is industrial primarily, and that was all established in the original zone. It wasn't allowed use in the original commercial zone. Since the inception of this zone and these buildings, the land use chart has changed about 10 times over the course of those years. So what is the public benefit to ensure ongoing economic viability of the businesses located in the proposed area? The businesses affected employ about 30 people and provide product services and support for customers both locally, regionally, and nationally. Question, how does the proposal comply with the goals of the policies of the Nibley City General Plan? The proposed zoning change strengthens the economic value of the area, is the response of the applicant. And to the question, please explain how the anticipated use is appropriate for the surrounding area. Proposed zoning change will not impact surrounding area. The current use will not change because of the rezone. Current usage has had no known complaints from adjacent properties. again, I mentioned the existing site includes Mountain View Machine and Welding Shop and Majestic Mountain Sage, its body care product distributor. And it's surrounded by commercial zone. You can see this by the red hatch in there. Next to it, well, let's go back one. Next to it is a higher density. I think it was Nibley's first high density housing complex, condominiums. To the south is vacant land. It's currently zoned partially commercial on the west end, and then higher density, our highest density RM zone to the south. Our future land map is in it aligns with the current one in commercial designation. The applicable general plan goals are related to goal number 1, encourage development that respects and preserves the character of the city and provides a mix of commercial, residential housing, and some light industrial uses. Carefully plan for growth within the city, ensuring that development occurs in suitable locations and can be efficiently served over long term. Land use goal number 2 out of the general plan. This is guide land use and growth decisions through application of the general plan, the future land use map, and relevant goals, principles, and projects. And with regard to commercial and economic development goals, create and maintain a sustainable economic base for Nibley City that will provide tax revenues and increase local employment and convenience of shopping. Staff recommends denial of this ordinance based on a couple of things. The proposed industrial zone designation is really not compatible with the commercial designation of the city's adopted future land use map and its current land use. The existing commercial zoning allows uses which are more compatible with the surrounding uses and zoning than the proposed industrial zone allows. Some background here. Oh, this is yeah. So back to, are there any questions?
I don't have any yet. Maybe we'll wait till the next discussion and consideration before we open up questions.
Okay, there's nobody signed in on the sign-in sheet.
Yeah, so nobody, obviously no one signed up. We do have some submissions via email, right, Talon? Did the commission read those, or do we want to read them aloud, or?
I've read them, but we could reread them if you want.
Okay,
Applicants or both respondents did request for them to be read aloud.
great.
in the
Then
meeting.
let's hear from them.
And, the public hearing's officially open.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you. Yeah, we'll go ahead and open up the public hearing, recognizing no one is officially signed up on the sheet. But certainly if there's anyone in attendance as well that would like to approach and discuss anything during the public comment period, you're more than welcome to do that. But yeah, go ahead and read from the emails and let's enter them into the public comment period for sure.
Alrighty, the first email comes from a Mr. Eric Bone. Hopefully I'm pronouncing it last name correctly.
Bamey.
Bamey?
I think Bamey.
Bamey, okay. Just quoting from his email, greetings, I am a resident of Nibley City, located at 2449 South, 1275 West, Nibley, Utah, 84321. My back door leads right out to the land being considered for rezoning from commercial to industrial per ordinance 2521. I would like to voice my dissent to this proposal. I already get woken up at times by the business across from the empty field stander. They will dump metal scrap into their large metal trash bin with a forklift as early as 5 a.m. It would be unbearable for those types of industrial noises taking place only feet from the window behind which I sleep. I am fine with office space, a dentist's office, whatever, but a manufacturing facility is out of the question for me. Please do not allow for the rezoning of this land to industrial. Thank you. And then just going over to the second email. This comes from Mr. and Ms. Rob and Rosemary Jones of 2466, 2470, and 2474 South, 1240 West. We are concerned about the proposed change from commercial zoning to industrial zoning. According to the Nibley City permitted use that could be conditionally approved in the property being requested for rezone, some of these are very detrimental to residential properties. There are more than 110 residences within an extremely close proximity of this requested rezone in the Spring Creek Crossing HOA development. Some of the proposed conditional permitted uses in the Nibley City Code that could be granted as conditional use are more than concerning to others. Within feet of the residential area, no one wants to live close to a junk/salvage yard or recycling collection facility. These would more than likely bring rodents, smell, and unsightly conditions which would be in the residence's back door. Also, pest control could be extremely hazardous with young children so close to the area. According to the zoning, it also states that fencing could be up to 8 feet high, which takes away the aesthetics and enjoyment for the community. The property value could also suffer depending on what was conditionally approved. If the change is granted for this rezone, even though the purpose for which the requester is currently intending to use for a specific outline conditional use in the future, the property may be sold or the business may change ownership, making it extremely vulnerable to any industrial conditional use that may be granted. If Nibley City is interested in an industrial zone, surely industrial zoning would be more appropriate in an area which does not border residential housing with a school within the locality as well. We express complete opposition of the granting of this rezone change. Thank you for your consideration of our concerns.
Okay, thank you, Talent. Does anyone in attendance want to join the public comment period? If so, state your name and address, please.
My name is Dirk Howard. I'm one of the applicants for the rezone change. Address would be 2490 South, 1350 West. The rezone is primarily to bring into the ability for businesses there to operate as they were established. Jason, who is also part of my co-applicant, he went to get a business license because he had changes for federal firearm requirements. Up until that point, he has manufactured a small 22 pack rifle, and he has done that in his facility. The requirements under the federal firearm license now requires that the business license be its own entity. And in his application to the city, he was denied because, quote, he was not an industrial location. But it is something that he's done for over 20 years. So it's kind of a baffle of how the conditions of a business that have been long established somehow have gotten pulled out from underneath. So we were told that what we needed to do to cure his deficiency on the business license was to apply for an industrial rezone. I joined in that effort because I'm getting to a point where we're getting ready to retire, liquidate our properties. Adding it as an industrial zone opens up a large section of potential uses. Every single one is a conditional use. Nothing is added as strictly a permitted use. So the city doesn't give up any control over what goes there. All they're doing is giving the potential for future users of that location to ask for conditional use for those. Now, as far as Mr. Bamey's request about the dumping of metals, that wouldn't change, because even though it might be loud and annoying, it's permitted. Adding another machine shop, right now, that wouldn't be permitted. The number of problems that any of the neighbors have for the machine shop, I would say most don't even realize that that's what happens at that location. I don't think that most of the uses that would happen in a rezone to industrial would have any greater impact than the items that already go on. Now, as far as the other person that complained about potential insecticides or poisons, as the agricultural piece that it currently is, I have the right to spray it. And any of those, including 2,4-D, Roundup, any number of other herbicides, are a permitted use. So denying the request to move to industrial doesn't impact any of that. All it does is it limits the economic capabilities and options for those pieces of property to my detriment and to also Mr. Crook's detriment. And that's all I have on that. If there's any questions.
Thank you. Yeah, well, if we have any follow-up, it'll be on the next item under the discussion. So did you want to come up and, I mean, we can do this now or we can wait till we get to the next piece. If we have, it's up to you. I'll leave that up to you. Yeah, if you want to enter anything under the public comment period, go ahead, just state your name and address.
1350 East 300 Mountain View Machine in Welland. So the first letter that you read, since I've been in there the longest, I was one of the very first ones. Crawford Construction built his building along at the same time as mine. And Crawford Construction developed that area, 23 acres, as an industrial park. And that's what enticed us to move there. I bought 2 acres, and Crawford's ended up having the bottom end of the offices that they use as the front for that. And then the road was private at that time. Well, then now Sanders owns that road. And like the discussion I had with Tim was, I was kind of interested in that frontage road property of his. And I asked if I expanded my property forward on his property. But it sounds like that's a no, because no, I can't expand my business. And so it kind of leads me to back onto the pack rifle, which is a 22 takedown, and it weighs less than a pound. I don't sell a lot of them. I have 50 right now that's on hold. And so that's through Levi. That was my understanding through the ATF that I needed to get an industrial license. Well, now they said it's commercial. Well, when I bought it, it was industrial park. And so it kind of threw me, but I was grandfathered in for a number of years because I've been making them for forever. And I invite everybody to come down to the shop, because even when I first got the license, no one knew that they even had an industrial park there. And so, I mean, we've done quite well. And I think we've proven that, you know, we don't hardly make any noise. And to the first person that you read about the noise, well, I'm there every day. I'm there most Saturdays. And the one little dumpster that they have to put metal in, and if you know what they do, it's little tiny flimsy tubing. And the reason why they're throwing it away, because China dicked them up. And so they scrap them. And I don't think I've hardly ever seen anybody in that building at 5 o'clock in the morning, because I am always there. And so they do have a forklift, but I just don't believe that they make noise. I get that they have a lot of semis coming in and out of there. So, but I just appreciate you guys allowing us to least investigate our options, because we really are kind of getting old. And so, you got to kind of think about what are you going to do, and, we'll always be a machine shop, because down the road, my son and grandson will continue on. And so, I hope they're successful, because I need them to be. But anyway, I appreciate your time and thank you.
Okay, thank you. With that, I think that's everybody in attendance. We've read off the emails, and obviously no one signed up on the list. So we'll go ahead and close the public comment period and move on to the next item on the agenda, which is the discussion and consideration for the recommendation for ordinance 2521, which are for the rezone of parcels 3-178-4, 3-178-3, and 3-178-10 located at 2440, 2485, and 2490 South, 1350 West from commercial to industrial. So we'll go ahead and open up the discussion with the commission. If we have any questions, certainly we can ask you guys to reapproach. And obviously, Tom, thank you for standing in for Levi to provide further insights from the city staff perspective. So commission, any thoughts or discussion on this one? Curiosities, questions?
Mr. Chairman, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Crook and Mr. Howard, for your comments. Appreciate that. I think I understand where you're coming from. Tom, given the fact that he's grandfathered in, can he expand the current business?
That's
If
actually,
he stays within the guidelines that he's in now, can he expand?
that's a great question. So I did consult with the city attorney, and there's a couple ways he can expand. If he stays in the confines of his building, he's not expanding technically. He can cut it in half, bring in another business that works in one half and him in another. So another business license can be issued there, as long as there's not if he starts running around the clock, that might be an expansion. So he couldn't do something like that. Our code is rather generous on other expansions. For example, the structure. So I've talked to Mr. Crook up twice now on this, but let's say you have a 100,000 square foot building that's existing non-conforming, that's grandfathered.
Right.
Our code allows up to 50% expansion of that structure.
So another 50.
It's implied that that business could expand 50% with that expansion of the structure as well.
Adding more structure to it?
Mhm.
Yes. Now, there's nothing in our code that says once that first expansion is done, that you can expand again.
Right.
I think.
Does it have to be
in-
attached? Does the expansion have to be attached?
That's a great question. I don't know the answer to that. I don't know if he could add, if another building could be added on that same parcel. That's a great question. I'd have to follow up with
A
our
detached,
council,
yeah.
our council.
All right. It's not, for me, it's not about what's happening now. It's about when you change the zoning, it's about what could happen. Like you said, Mr. Howard, you intend to sell your property one day. Well, it's not about what you're doing. It's about what people you sell it to, or who you lease it to may do in an industrial zone. And that's where the city has to, in my view, the planning commission has to kind of consider that, what could happen in that new zone that's not happening now? What is the risk down the road, given the proximity of the surrounding neighborhoods? And so for me, that's what I'm thinking about right now. But that's all I have for right now, Mr. Commissioner.
If Jason wants to sell his business to a new, like his sons or grandson, can it go on in the existing grandfather clause, or because of change of ownership?
Yes, it can change ownership. I mentioned he could offer another business license to a portion of it within that building. So as long as the use is not abandoned for 365 days, it can perpetuate. Pick, for example, a McDonald's store. If McDonald's sold it to Burger King, even though it was non-conforming, they'd still be able to operate as a
Okay.
fast food restaurant. So how do I say this? It runs with the land and the structure.
Yeah.
Regardless of who owns it.
Okay.
So I'll
That's good
back
to
up
know.
just a little bit. We're going to relook at this business license that was denied. I think it was inadvertently denied without doing the right research. So we're going to relook at that and start
that-
next week.
That 22 pack gun is
Hmm.
pretty impressive. I think they're the only ones that make it in the US.
Yeah, he
that
won't
I'm
get
aware of.
approved until he shows it to me. No, just
Oh, okay. You should buy one, Tom. You should buy one. It's pretty impressive.
did I answer your question?
Yeah.
And
1 pound for a 22 rifle is pretty
Yeah.
yeah,
impressive. And so I've been there. I've been to his machine shop a few times. My son worked for him.
is there
So-
any other question?
That's my only other question. My concern is ownership and change of the business. Would that restrict him down the road? And I hate to have him be restricted if we don't switch it over and stuff. And I don't like the fact that his firearm is denied when he's been doing it for, a good 20 years or longer. And so,
Like I mentioned, we'll be
So-
relooking at that next week.
Okay. I have a question. You can either both answer or individually. It doesn't matter to me, but have you thought about, because to me, obviously we're talking about 3 parcels in this application, right? The 2 already have a building and they're already being used and have granted a conditional use based on the nature of the business, right? And obviously Tom mentioned, given that they are a conditional use, even potential physical expansion of the building, our code permits that. To me, I think the question really comes down to the vacant parcel. Have you thought about, like I would think, just as a matter of cleaning up our ordinances, given these 2 buildings are basically industrial already? I guess I think you kind of maybe mentioned and answered my question is you feel like even the vacant property, you would want industrial because you feel like that just opens up more opportunity economically, essentially, right? Even though this is where it gets hard, right? Is from an administrative point of view, it becomes industrial. Yes, you read the land use chart. Everything is a conditional use. We still have to grant that use. But from an administrative point of view up here, the second we grant that industrial, well, it'll be, I'm guessing at the higher, it's just always going to be a higher likelihood that an industrial use is going to ask for this conditional use rather than a commercial use. And I think to me anyways, it's not the 2 parcels that are effectively already industrial. It's just this vacant land one. And that just so happens to be the one that's closest to these people's backyard, right? I mean, that's kind of to me, that's kind of really what we're talking about, more or less. I mean,
Right.
do you have any thoughts? I mean, do you agree with all that or?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And quite honestly, I have been approached by a business that is located here in Nibley that currently operates a machine shop over near where Maloof is. And Maloof, under their dire business situation because of whatever level of stuff doesn't stay the same, is trying to squeeze that particular business out of Nibley. So that business owner approached me asking about that lot. He doesn't need all of it. He would like to have about 1.4 acres that would go up closer to my existing building. The other 1.5 acres would be interested by an engineering firm that would like to develop it into office space and other commercial entities. So that is the current offerings that I have for that front parcel. The machine shop would like to have it as an industrial. It would be very similar to Jason's. Unless you were inside it, you wouldn't even know what it was. But that is a reality of why I would like to have that, because I have been approached by somebody for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And certainly thank you. Yeah, and like I said, to me, and to mirror a little bit what Brett said too, it's like this is ultimately is the the difficulty for us up or even the council, not to speak for them, but once a zone is changed, you're opening up literally the floodgates of applicants and everything that goes with it. So that's why it's hard. Administering these ones are always difficult. And oh, sure, yep. If you have something else, that's fine.
I get those apartments and they've been there for a while. But just like Tim, we were talking, what kind of businesses could go there? So if you look at on that property, even a strip mall, and you're talking fingernail polish, you're talking nails, you're talking pizza, whatever. Well, they're going to be at the back of the building. Well, or the back side of that property because of the parking that would be generated for those types of entities. And most of them need to be highway visibility. So then on his behalf, what kind of business would you put in that lot that isn't got a back wall facing those apartments that they want to look out on? So now you got to ask yourself, what could go in there that is so low that they can't see the mountains? So now it's almost restricted to not having anything in that lot. So, so as a group, we all need to kind of think of what that land could be used for. And I don't see anything that is going to be basement driven. So, it's just a thought.
Yep.
Because if the one is complaining about the visibility, no matter what goes in there, I mean, even if you put a church in there, it's going to be visibility is going to be blocked. So eventually somebody's going to have to be sacrificed the view.
Yeah. Even residential.
Yeah,
Yep.
even residential.
Yep.
Is
Building it.
is it 2 acres, 2.5 acres, the vacant lot?
2.94.
Almost 3.
Almost 3.
Okay. Now what can you do with 3 acres?
So the original thought of the industrial complex in there was through Crosswords was that abstract building that has 4 or 5 businesses in. Well, there was supposed to be 3, and one of them got built. Then the second one was going to be up on the highway where the dog food place was, and the sports sales stuff.
Mhm.
Well, that was going to be the second one. And then across the back next to the school around that arc right there was going to be the third one built. So that was Crawford's idea at the time, was to put modular little businesses through there. And then the animal hospital got put in, because I've been there the longest. So that was the original plan. That's why I chose the 2 acres in the furthest back, because I didn't want the traffic that all those little entities would have created. So.
Okay, thank you. Any other specifics you guys want to discuss?
I don't have anything at this time.
Okay. Brett.
Clearly, that's why we have 2 different zones, commercial versus industrial. They're just different animals. They just are. The potential of both of those is very, very different. And because of that, what could happen down the road, I agree with the city staff on their findings on this.
Okay. Do we want to make a motion? Anybody?
You guys come to the forum?
Yes. 3 members. Yep.
There's one, two absent.
Yeah, we have majority.
Also, remember, for the record, and whatever we decide to do, you can still go to the city council.
Yep.
We're just a recommending body.
Yep.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to recommend denial for the ordinance 25-21 rezone parcel of 03-178-0004, 03-178-003, and 03-178-001 located at 2440, 2485, and 2490 South, 1350 West from commercial to industrial with the findings of the city staff.
Okay.
I guess there was no.
Yeah, there weren't any.
Okay.
Guess I'll second it.
So we have a motion from Brett to recommend denial for ordinance 25-21 for the rezone of parcels 3-178-4, 3-178-3, and 3-178-10 located at 2440, 2485, and 2490 South, 1350 West from commercial to industrial, seconded by Claire. Any further discussion or questions before we go to a vote?
If ownerships change on the vacant lot, they can reapply for a rezone too at the time, anytime.
Anytime.
So it's not a closed door. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, certainly they can apply anytime, regardless. So, okay, with that, we'll go ahead and proceed to a vote. All in favor of the motion?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? None opposed? That passes 3 in favor, none opposed. Thank you.
I'd like to see them get their firearm license, business license.
We'll be looking at that next week. This will be considered by city council at next council meeting, which would be next Thursday.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we'll move on to the next item, which is our last item on the agenda, which is the discussion and consideration for a concept plan for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Meeting House located approximately at 3420 South, 1200 West. Tom, you want to do us the honors, please?
You bet. I'll start us off by just giving us a general location of this project. It's south 3200 South, in between phases, I believe it's phase 1 of Nibley Meadows and phase 10 of Nibley Meadows here. So this is about a 10-acre site. They're planning to develop the north half without a subdivision to put in a church house there. So they submit a site plan. It's zoned currently R2 residential, and churches and places of worship are a conditional use for those areas in those zones, excuse me. Proposed building is 20,000 square feet, and the concept plan approval is required prior to final site plan approval. So this is the first step. The next step would be the site plan review and approval because it's over 10,000 square feet. This is the site here I mentioned, Nibley Meadows, on to the north and to the south. And to the west is the recycle site that we have, the green waste, and some Nibley city-owned property, and Nibley Farms is also to the west there. The applicant proposes 2 access points, and we recommended no more than 1 more access point when the remainder parcel is developed. 1200 West is one of our primary arterial roads. We requested just having 1 access, but our code allows 2 for every commercial use. So we did request that in the future, when they do develop the south piece, regardless if it's residential, another church house, or whatever, if you get rezoned, that be limited to a single access point. So they've agreed to that. We requested a pedestrian access to 1100 West. They've also agreed to that with a gate that will open up, and I can show you back on the aerial real quick. And then there's more detail regarding setbacks, parking, landscaping, architectural design, and civil design, when we get the site plan, it will go through another review process, and it'll come back to planning commission once the site plan's all refined. Some of the challenges here are going to be stormwater. It's a low spot there. There's obstructed by 12th West. There's really no way to get stormwater out of the site. So we are working with Nibley Meadows to allow them to discharge through their portion into a regional stormwater pond that Nibley City is working with the development. And if you remember, Nibley Meadows requested a revision to phase 4. This is all kind of tied to that stormwater pond stuff. So staff recommends approval of the concept plan for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Meeting House located at 3420 West or South, 1200 West, adopting the recommended findings below. Concept plan approval is subject to further review at final site plan and conditional use permit approval. Minimum provided landscaping shall comply with Nibley City Code 1924-170. The building shall be built to the standards in Nibley City's design standards for commercial and industrial uses. The development shall adhere to Nibley City engineering design standards. Any future development of the remainder of the site shall be limited to 1 additional access point for a total of 3 for the parcel, subject to adequate spacing standards. Pedestrian access from 1100 West Trail must be provided to the building as provided in Nibley City Code 2112-60. And the findings are the proposed use isn't allowed conditional use in the residential zone. There is insufficient detail in the concept plan to determine compliance with several requirements of Nibley City Code and Nibley City design standards and Nibley City engineering standards, which we'll be able to further evaluate with the site plan. So I said I was going to go back to this aerial for some reason. You'll have, the trail. So Nibley Meadows is constructing the trail all along
Right.
through their development and down past phase 10, which is right here. So there will be a trail that connects to here. They'll have a fence with their site plan, and it'll be a separate permit, but they've agreed to provide a gate access for that
Does the
trail.
trail go to 12th West?
Mhm.
Yeah, 1100 west to 1200 west
Okay.
through here.
Just
Mhm.
makes that corner?
Mhm.
And they agreed to provide a walking path through the site there. So unlike a nearby church that put
Yeah.
a fence and
Yeah.
we have a dead end trail. So
Yeah.
they've been really great to work with. They actually want an accelerated review time and they're ready to roll. They want to be under construction in a month. I says, "Oh,
Wow.
I don't know that we'll be there in a month, but they just kind of wanted to express their excitement to get
Said
this
they're
one
going to put a
going.
gate on it. What kind of gate?
On the trail?
Yeah.
That wasn't discussed.
Can you say gate?
I did say gate. And these are just conversations, but
You mean a gate onto the church property?
yeah, to go, so they could lock the fence.
So
if
they could
needed
lock
to.
it.
Yeah, they could close it and lock it. That was my impression of the discussions. I could be mistaken, but I'm
Now,
kind of
the-
third hand here. Levi does all the real work.
The reason 3200 building was denied is because of liability reasons for the church.
So my understanding
walking
is
through.
the architectural team has consulted with the church team, and they've agreed to this.
There you go. Okay.
To the trail?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Because the church owns the property already. Is that correct?
That's correct. They own all 10 acres.
And so they need to subdivide.
No, they don't necessarily need to subdivide. They're just going to develop
Half of
the
it.
north half. Now, in our request, staff recommended that we have the improvements for the complete frontage along 1200 West. So that means the curb, the gutter, the sidewalk, and 3 accesses that will work out in the site plan review.
Isn't it rezoned as a church? And
It's not,
school
there isn't a
originally?
church,
Church is
there isn't a
permitted.
church zone, but churches and religious,
They're permitted in every zone we have.
School
yeah,
is
they're
church.
conditional uses
Yeah.
in every zone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, well, I guess, oh, sorry, did you have any more time before we? open
No,
it
that
up?
was it. Is there
Okay.
any questions?
Yeah, so we'll just go ahead and open it up to discussion amongst the commissioners, I guess, and have any questions for you. I've got a question, if I may. I should probably have looked this up, so I apologize. But so this is on an arterial, correct?
Yes.
And do we have anything in code that limits the amount of entry points to an arterial within a certain distance of another pre-existing entry point?
We do.
How,
Then
what is that distance? Because it's like 220 feet from already a street. Is that going to
it
be?
is,
code?
it's a half a block. Ours is pretty generous. I can look that up. There's, if it's a one-way, if it's two-way, and if there's another access, if it's circular, there's a whole bunch of
Yeah,
different
I mean,
requirements. But off the top of my head, I'd say is 125 feet
what's
separated.
what's the speed limit on? Is it
This section,
45?
this section is 40,
Oh,
But
used to
it-
be 55.
but it
Well, it's driven like 55.
I believe it's 45 at the county. As you come into
Oh,
Nibley,
slows
we
you down to
dropped it down to
40.
40.
Yeah,
40.
you're right. You're right.
So, well, in theory, we'll have three right turn if you're heading north within 600 feet of each other.
That's correct. And if you look at how much frontage we have, I believe they'd be spaced between 280 and 300 feet-ish.
Yeah, 225. Well, from the middle of the pre-existing road to the edge of the property, plus whatever's,
Yes.
that's three entrances right there, back to back to back. That's I don't know. I mean, as long as it meets code, sure. I don't know if I like that.
Well,
But
part of it's because 1100 West was turned into a trail and not a street. Which could have been a second access. If they developed south, then that's
yeah,
another second access, which they
there
have
is no, but there
plan
is
to.
no. So 1100 West is not a real street. No,
It-
it won't
it-
ever be.
It's platted as a right-of-way. It's being developed as a trail.
That's a
Yeah,
trail.
so one entrance, yeah, it doesn't make sense.
And you can see the
With as
walkway
many
that they're
parking
showing.
stalls in here, right? Like,
And the building will probably sit the front of the 1200 West.
yeah.
Yes.
I do
The-
like how they have the building next to the road. I like that.
Mhm.
Parking in the back. I like that. design
So,
quite a
yeah,
bit.
so again, yeah, this is the concept. We're going to refine all the details at the site plan review, which will come back to planning commission.
It looks similar to what's on 10th West. On the church on 10th
Mhm.
West.
Oh, okay. Wait,
Imagine the third access they're going to plug in right through.
they want
there.
to wait. So where
So
do they?
remember, there's two accesses that they want to develop with this church house, one here and one here.
Yeah.
The third access would be, I'd imagine, about that distance. And then if they develop this in the future, they just circulate this through this way.
What would they do? Would they just put like a big grassy field on the south end?
For now, I don't know
Yeah.
that they have a plan for that.
No,
It's
What's-
currently being farmed. I think they do corn.
probably. Probably field corn. But what would be, Nibley Meadows is to the north of that.
Yes.
And there's no access point into Nibley Meadows, or Nibley Meadows is not planning.
No,
Any
there's no
access.
access point.
You have a colored pointer?
Yeah, I'm like,
Not see.
I can't see
Oh, I'm
your
sorry.
pointer on your.
How
There we
can
go.
I
That's
do
better.
this?
Brett, is that better?
Is
Yeah.
that better? Okay.
So where would the third access be?
Says, it hasn't really, we discussed possibly putting it down here.
And that's
Having
for what?
good separation for that.
Third access to what?
The third access to the parcel.
To the improved part of this development,
No.
or just the
No,
parcel?
They're sitting on.
Hey, let
10
me pull up
acres.
this parcel again, sorry. So this is a single 10-acre parcel.
Hmm.
The first one access to the church house was proposed up in this area. The other one was proposed for this area.
Hmm.
This area down here would be undeveloped currently.
And that's a.
And
canal
then they
going
would
through
stub
there.
in another access down toward the south when they develop that last part.
But just the question is, if that's sold to a developer, does our code even allow one exit?
Yeah, no.
You can have one entrance for up to 30.
Okay, so
Unit.
you'd have to have less than 30
Oh, okay.
Yes.
units in there.
Correct.
30. Would
But
that be 5 acres?
5 acres, you'd have 6
Have
units
to
an acre, yeah.
Have bars in there.
Yeah. I don't want to be hung up too much on this, but I'm just curious about this gate. Where's the gate gonna go?
Let me show you back on the site plan, sorry.
And I mean, that's a public trail, right?
Yeah.
I like that.
And how
So
are they?
So you can see the trail connection right here. Can you see that?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's where they're proposing to put the trail.
Yeah,
It'll
my
be fully
concern-
fenced and they agreed to put a gate.
My
What,
concern
wait,
is their
they
lawyers
agreed
are
to
gonna.
put a gate? Like we had to negotiate, but
We asked, the staff asked them to make
put a
it,
gate?
to put a connection there.
And they're like, yeah, but we'll do it with a gate?
That's my impression.
Oh,
The trail ends in the parking lot.
Yeah.
I thought it went down to 12th West.
yeah.
It goes here.
Around,
This could be the trail.
We're counting that? What, no,
This
wait.
could be a trail. This
Oh.
part right here.
it goes
that
through
doesn't do us
Nibley
any good.
Meadows, the trail really does.
They said they'd put a walkway through the,
Through through the property.
Why not just put it on the south end?
Yes.
I'm just waiting for their lawyers to shut you down because of liability.
I don't care about their lawyers.
Yeah, like.
I don't care really what the church
I have
wants.
to ask these questions. Yeah.
I think there's no master plan trail on this.
Oh, there's
property.
not?
No.
Okay.
The only trail is on 1100 West. So this provides an access from the trail to get to church.
So if they don't play ball and let it go through, that trail ends. It's a dead end.
The 1100 West Trail?
Yeah.
No, that continues and it's being developed with Nibley Meadows.
Nibley Meadows
And it's
all the
it's
other-
going to be developed all the way past here. Right now, it just keeps going south,
Oh,
all the way.
they were on the
pa-
So it's gonna
Yeah,
be on
let
the
me-
backside of every
So
development.
essentially, they're saying here's a gate to our property during church hours.
Let me try to draw this. Let me show you. Let me use some magic here. So this trail is proposed to go, right now, it's going to be constructed all the way down
That's cool.
to here. Can you see that red?
Mm-hmm.
So Nibley Meadows Phase 10 is right here. So right here, excuse me.
Okay.
They've agreed to develop that,
Keep going
construct it
south.
all the way down, all the way here. So when a development comes in here, we'll continue that to the south.
That's great.
What this church has agreed to is provide an access from the church, from the trail to get to church.
Okay.
It's not a trail through the church
Oh,
park.
yeah.
So sorry if I misspoke.
Trail
Yeah.
to the church.
What, and we asked for that?
We asked for that to connect to
the church.
to be able to get to
I
the
think
church,
I think it
yes.
Should be,
And that's our code. It says you should be able to get
Hey,
to
Nathan.
places of assembly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Sorry, that one took a minute to get
oh,
to.
it's all right. I just,
Okay.
I have PTSD. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
The last one, that big fight we had here.
Which one was that?
On
With this one over
3200.
here.
It's a
Was
church.
I around for that?
No,
Okay.
I remember,
It's Aaron,
Not that it matters,
I won't
but
say names, but it got heated.
Aaron Blissner, who's the one who went over the top.
not that it matters, but this trail at the end of this cul-de-sac is blocked by a fence.
Yeah.
So,
And so people have stacked blocks and crates
no way.
and stuff so they can get over it. Yes.
Gosh.
So it's great that they've agreed to
Blocked
allow
on
an
purpose?
opening.
Obviously.
It's great that the church
Just-
has agreed to allow an opening to access the church.
Wait for the
So
church lawyers. to shut it down.
administratively, someone's gonna have to go unlock this gate to allow people to come to church on Sunday and Monday and whatever else.
Most of them have like one person who does
Security and.
security.
Yeah, well, and it's not our problem. I just,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's kind of a pain, but whatever.
Is it, and not that it matters, is this a standard size building for the church or is it a bigger stake center size?
I think 20,000 square feet is a stake center.
Center size, yeah.
Do we know, is this a stake center? Do you
No,
know?
so it's the same size as the one over here on 3200?
I was asking on the 3200 South, is that a stake center?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can measure that up real quick.
I'm just curious if that's a standard.
It looks like a stake center.
I don't know if it does or not. It looks kind of small to me, but
Well, they're not doing the grassy areas or the pavilion.
Yeah,
Oh,
this is
dude,
about, yeah,
Missed like,
I missed half of it,
come
yeah.
on.
Okay, here, let me try it again.
we love you, Tom.
I missed a click.
Yeah.
This is the current one?
This is the one on 3200 South, yes.
22,000 square feet.
Yeah, and that's including Eve, so it's probably the same.
Well, they have
Church, yeah.
over in the far corner, they have a little pavilion too.
Okay.
That's-
And 12th
that's
is an
over there.
arterial, and that's basically the same footprint for access. And look, you got two streets already even closer. You know what I mean?
I like how they have 3 exits though, because it gets pretty congested back there.
Yeah.
Well, they
Yeah.
can't even, they're too small to handle everybody in the stake.
Hmm.
But
I think I think the design they have proposed, I mean, it's their call, but I think that's gonna be a congested
Yeah,
deal.
yeah.
Only having two exits out of there.
But like the third, where would you take it? I mean, other than just they'd have to pave.
I was
You
hoping.
know what I mean?
I was
And
hoping
daylight
they'd
it.
get into Nibley Meadows somehow, but obviously Nibley Meadows doesn't want them going their direction.
'Cause
Yeah, that one, we've
Yeah.
already approved that
Yeah.
phase one already, and it's not showing it's platted, I believe.
Right.
So
So is the fire review at this point?
has the fire department reviewed
They
it?
review at this point?
We'll include them in the site plan review.
Yeah, I'm just wondering if they have heartburn over just two exits on a deep lot.
Good point, yeah.
Just,
No, they get nervous when it's narrow and over 150 feet deep. Then they ask for a hammerhead turnaround or a
Yeah.
90-foot radius turn.
okay. Are we ready for a motion?
Yeah. Anyone have a motion or have any other questions or discussion?
Do you want me to make the motion? I'll
Sure,
make the
go ahead.
motion. I make the motion. I got to get the right one.
Here.
The concept plan for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Meeting House located at approximately 3420 South, 1200 West as an approval
Okay. Did you want to,
Pending
With-
approval?
with the conditions. The gate scares me. So with the conditions of the gate being a sure thing for the trail.
did you want to just include the blanket in conditions identified by staff? Because there's
Oh.
more than just that.
Yeah, with the conditions identified by the staff.
Okay. So we have a motion to recommend approval for the concept plan. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded. So we have a motion for approval for the concept plan for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints Meeting House located at approximately 3420 South, 1200 West, with including all recommendations identified by staff. That motion was recommended by Claire, seconded by Brett. Do we have any other discussion? Okay, we'll just go right to a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? None opposed. So that'd be 3 in favor, none opposed. That's our last item on the agenda. We'll just go right into staff report. Tom, anything?
See a couple of you guys at the Utah planning.
Yeah.
That was great. I didn't see you on my tour. I did present on a traveling tour.
Yeah,
We looked at alternative or multimodal transportation projects. I was able to present on 1200 West. I also talked about
How'd the turtle shells go over? Did you talk about them?
there was a lot of interest in it, and I did identify our failure on public notice and public information. I think we could have done a lot better on just telling people what to expect and
Mhm.
how to manage those.
I actually still like it.
We're still, well, it's on city council's
Yeah.
next agenda to have a
You
workshop
need to
on
get the
it.
developer to finish his project.
And I'm also, not that it's related to this, but phase 5, the last phase is currently contracted with Staker Parsons. And they haven't given me their final schedule, but I anticipate that's going to start pretty soon.
Cool.
We've made some adjustments to those turtles, the concrete mountable bulbs. We've made them shorter. They're 4 inches taller instead of 6. We've shifted them back just a little bit. We're hoping that's a little more palatable to the public.
And on the sidewalk, I mean, not the bike trail, it seems the south, close to the 3200 South seems really further away, the barriers, than they need to be. They could be slid in.
Yeah, so that's the barriers intentionally come out. It's called a chicane. It's an
Uh-huh.
artificial curvature that
Yeah, I
you
like
bring
the
it and you
curvature.
narrow the lanes, which creates some
Oh.
discomfort to drivers that make them slow down, pay attention. If you get it wide open, you start moving those over, give them more room, people just drive fast.
Yeah.
With that being the major collector, it's an arterial that's going to connect all the way to the airport. I don't think Nibley's ready for a freeway yet,
No, I
not
think
right
it's
through
a
the
good
center of
move.
town. So
And
it's been very effective. We've done 2 speed studies on it. The 85th percentile is right around 34 to 38 miles an hour.
Yeah, good.
Now, it's posted at 25, but that's 85% of the people are driving
Relatively
34 to
close.
38 miles an hour or less.
And it's funny because the bike lane is on both sides of the road on the first part of 1200 West from 32.
Mhm.
I'd eliminate the one on the west side and keep it all on the east side.
So this phase 5 actually continues from the Stone Bridge
I'm assuming it will.
to the roundabout.
Yeah.
That's a portion of it too. And it also extends it north to Logan's 10th West at
I
2200
just
South.
had one individual talk to me about the bike lane.
Mhm. Yeah, so we're actually having to move some curb at Heritage Crossing subdivision to
To
manage
handle
this
it.
new design.
Okay. No, I like it. I love it. I think it's the best thing you did.
I'm getting a lot of people saying that, but I guess there's several that don't agree with us.
Do they all live in the same neighborhood?
I'm not sure.
No.
I haven't heard much in a while. I don't know if people just got sick and tired of me not.
I mean, I run on that bike lane like multiple times a week. I love it.
That's great.
Yeah, it's pretty
That's great.
I like
Can't
it.
make it.
Another one of the projects that I present on was Center Street. That was my project when I was at Logan City. So I was able to give some perspective on how that happened. The biggest one on that one was like the financial way that it happened. They created a special service area and everyone, 66% of the people had to agree to it, and they agreed to a special tax, a property tax that was collected. And I believe it was over $360,000 from that special service area that was applied to that. Then it was put in, so the development and the design of that was all collaborative. I had 30 stakeholders at meetings telling me how to do it, and the parking was a big issue. And then that arch was actually a private donation. So it is really neat little project.
That is cool.
Another project we toured was the oval abouts up at the university on 1200 East. There's they call it a peanut or something.
I love
oval
those.
about. What's that?
I love those.
Yeah, do you?
That should be everywhere.
Roundabouts.
Yeah, well, it's like a
But
peanut,
what's
that one.
different?
It's like a peanut. They could have just done a big oval, but they did a peanut just to keep speed super slow.
Yeah.
And they had to get creative on that one because of the offset intersection
Yeah.
at 10th North across 12th East. And so I didn't quite get to see that one done before I left Logan. And then the last one we went to was the new bike lanes on 500 North in Logan. I don't know if you've seen those. If you haven't, check it out. Go from Main Street up to the east.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It'd be on the north side of the road. They did islands with pylons. And the biggest challenge there was maintaining accesses to the people that live there. During that tour, we saw several people driving in the bike lane. So Nibley I personally think Nibley's idea was a little better, having the barriers so people
Yeah,
don't get
I like
confused.
barriers.
It-
Yeah.
It's not perfect, but
I do.
We'll
have
find out
video
more
people
next
riding
week.
the bike. I have people driving the bike lanes at Nibley.
yeah.
Oh, people park in the bike lanes. Anyway.
So the most valuable thing I found at the Planning Association was the legislative updates. It's just amazing how many laws were passed that really affect my everyday being
Yeah.
in development processes and things like that. Everything from building permits up to design to subdivisions to plat amendments and everything else. There's just so many. I'm still trying to learn them all, but that was super valuable to me. So
Yeah,
hopefully you
that was a
guys
great
learned something
conference,
too.
yeah.
So
Alan, anything? Looking sharp in the new shirt. I like
Oh,
it.
thanks. Yeah, hopefully everybody enjoys their polo and
Thank you.
dress shirt.
Yeah.
Thank you.
If you have any issues, please let me know and we can see if we can
Oh,
get a
thank
different
you.
size. But let's see. One thing, Levi, our planner, is potentially going to be gone for our next planning commission as well. And due to that, he has requested, and I know with the whole commission not here, we'll try and communicate that based on the discussion, but he would like to move it from July 17th, that Thursday, to Wednesday, the 16th. So just kind of putting out a feeler. Again, Levi and I will be reaching out to see if that works with everybody's schedules, so that he'll hopefully be able to attend and
Okay.
go from there.
Yeah. Great.
And
Thank you.
Heritage Days is coming up, so
It's all coming quickly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman, when you're ready, I'd like to file a complaint.
Okay, please do.
That construction by Maverick on the
Oh
highway,
Pity.
so tired of that beating me up and my truck up. Can't we say that's not good enough? And that's the biggest pothole in the state.
Yeah.
The middle,
I just go around it.
Going across.
You're not the only one that I've heard this.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't believe that it passes as
Yeah.
acceptable.
I don't think Talon knows what we're talking about. No, I'm totally teasing. I think
Yeah.
the entire city, I think staff here at City Hall has heard it. I've heard it. Justin has reached out to not the number one director, but the guy right below him saying, hey, you got to do something.
This is Region 1 UDOT.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, if it was just a week or something, but it's been there a long time, and
So he
that is
did,
rough on the
I
vehicles.
do have an update on that if you'd like. He reached out to him. He says, let's see. Oh. He said he had dozens of calls about the plates. The response was, we've had the contractor repair them, taking calls as well. They will pave it back on Sunday, if not earlier.
Mm.
So we just have a few more days to,
Do we send our alignment bills to the state?
and they're actually going to bring the speed limit down a little bit through there. So
Yeah.
Well, you should hear a semi hit him.
Oh, yeah.
I'm afraid to go
I
across.
swear a building's falling down.
Yeah.
Anything to add to that?
When I turn left, I just like me and every other person just like turn left, get into the center lane, and it's just like I'm not even touching that thing.
So I'm told that the motorcyclist did that and he was pulled over.
Oh, I believe it.
Or they were
Yeah.
pulled over. Yeah.
I
So
believe it.
I
Maybe
don't think it's legal, so be careful.
is this still recording? Yeah, maybe I did. I just. I'm kidding.
But
There and has issued a number of tickets for those traveling in the median, and we've gotten a number of phone calls and patrons visiting us at the front office, and different levels of excitement and behavior.
I'm sure.
So yeah, we're definitely trying through Tom and Justin to address that. So
Yeah, cool. Okay. Well, thank you, everybody. We'll call this meeting adjourned. Enjoy your evening.
Look at this, Nick. Bet you're riding the bike down there.